Hey everybody, Dean Kuluira, IT recruiter at SRA Staffing, doing a job search video. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching. Again, as usual, really appreciate everybody who's been interacting with my videos, my posts, my articles, and Instagram and everything. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate the support. I get a lot of positive feedback from candidates who find value in the content that I put out, and I do hope to continue putting out all this content to help all of you in your job search. If you don't know me, my name is Dean Kuluira. I'm an IT recruiter at SRA Staffing. So we're based out of the Yonge and Sheppard area here in Toronto. So again, if you're an IT professional, if you're in the area, you want to meet up, you want to talk, discuss your background, you want to find out if there's any roles I'm actively working on currently that I can help you with, don't hesitate in letting me know. I'm in the office Monday to Friday, 8:30 to around 5:30. My office line is 416-296-1772, extension 2036. I'll repeat that again, 416-296-1772, extension 2036. So what I wanted to talk about today is, now I got a great comment on this article that I wrote on Sunday, and it was called, what was that called? Yeah, what to do when the interviewer seems disinterested in you. So one of the comments was very interesting because it's something that could commonly happen in the job search, and I want to make sure all of you are aware of it. And I did write an article specifically about related to the comment that the person who commented made, and it's regarding unspoken or hidden objections that you might get at the interview. And what I mean by objection in this context, I'm referring to objection as it's defined in a sales transaction or a sales scenario. So an objection is when a customer has a reason or some kind of an issue preventing them from moving forward in the sales process, and therefore they explain that whatever that reason is as a reason for not moving forward in the process, right? You get it? So basically, as an example, let's say you want to buy this this pen, right? Let's say you want to buy. I always use pens in my examples, but as an example, so let's say you want to buy this pen. And you want to buy it using your I don't know, you don't have money to pay it, but maybe you ran out, you don't have any change or anything like that. So your objection would be, hey Dean, I can't purchase a pen from you because I don't have any change. So and I don't have a credit card, so I can't pay it, so I can't buy it. So that's an example of objection. An objection could be anything. It doesn't have to be related to money. Could be related to distance or whatever it is. I don't want to go on a rant, but hopefully all of you get what I'm saying. So the comment is, and it goes like this. It says, "Hi Dean, this is a good point that needs to be understood. However, if the interviewer starts asking irrelevant questions like your school percentage and marks obtained during your secondary education, and the candidate having more than 10 years of experience in the relevant field for which this organization is having an opening, but the interviewer asks questions on their their schooling period marks and lowered down the confidence of the candidate taking consideration of low percentage during secondary education. How do you deal with such kind of interviewer?" So basically, what this person is saying is, look, I have like 10 years of experience. I've been in my field for 10 years. I'm a senior level person. However, I'm going to an interview, and then I spoke with an interviewer or whoever it was. I don't know, maybe a recruiter or hiring manager or whoever it was. They didn't specify. And this person brings up my education, which was like over 10 years ago, and that's ridiculous. Like, why would they bring that up? So great question and a perfect example. So in this case, I see right away, and I don't have all the information about the situation or the scenario, but I know right away there's a hidden or unspoken objection. And that's why the person, whoever this individual who wrote the comment, whoever he's being interviewed by has an unspoken or an unspoken or hidden objection, and they're trying to, and because it's not being brought up or they don't want to bring it up, they're coming up with other reasons to reject the candidate or whatever the case is. Now, I wrote a full article about this, and I encourage you, if you want to know more about hidden objections or unspoken objections, definitely read the article. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll post it in the comments. If you're watching this on LinkedIn as well, I'll post it in the comments. Well, actually, sorry, on YouTube, I'll post it in the description. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, I'll post it in the comments. And that article discusses how to handle these types of hidden objections. So in this scenario that this guy's talking about, clearly from my perspective and based on the information I had. Now, keep in mind I don't have all the details of this scenario, but it seems to me there's a hidden or unspoken objection. And so you might think, well, Dean, why if it's a hidden or like why would it be a hidden or unspoken objection? Why don't they just bring it up or speak about it? Great question. So there's two possible reasons for that. So the reason number one why a hidden or unspoken objection occurs, number one is it could possibly be something that they don't want to, they themselves, and when I say they themselves, I'm talking about the interviewer, that they themselves do not want to bring up themselves. And therefore it remains unspoken or hidden or not discussed. Now, a hidden objection could possibly be that you've been working as a contractor and now suddenly you want to get into full-time, right? So they might not bring that up in the interview. So their concern might be, well, in the back of their minds, right? So what I'm telling you right now is I'm pretending like I'm thinking like the interviewer, right? So the interviewer might be thinking, okay, this person has a great skill set, they have great experience, but they've been contracting all this time, and I'm not feeling very certain that they'll stick around because this is a full-time role, and once a contractor, always a contractor. Not that that's the truth, that's just the way possibly this person might be thinking, right? So that's an example of a hidden or unspoken objection. They might not want to bring it up. Now, there's some cases where the interviewer might bring that up, which is the ideal situation, the ideal scenario. But in some cases, it might remain unspoken. So then what happens is they wanna turn you down, or they want to reject you. They don't want to bring that up as a reason, as the unspoken objection or whatever the case. So they start looking for other reasons why they want to bypass your application, your profile, or why they want to, they basically look for other reasons why. So then they start digging in other areas, right? They might ask you something that might be completely ridiculous, like in the case of this scenario, right? I mean, they're bringing up this guy's education, and he's a senior guy. He's been in the market. I mean, the industry for about 10 years. And whoever it is who's interviewing him, whether it's a recruiter or hiring manager, they're going back 10 years to his education and bringing up some marks he did when he was fresh out of, when he graduated from university or college or wherever it is. So that would be an example of why a hidden objection or unspoken objection occurs. Now, that's scenario one, right? That there's a hidden objection, unspoken objection, they don't want to bring it up, and you haven't brought it up, right? So scenario two is, it's very similar to scenario one, actually. So scenario two is they have brought the unspoken objection to the surface. They've kind of touched on it. They've discussed it, but they're still not. They've discussed. Yeah, discussed. I thought I said disgusted it. Never mind. All right. So I thought that, and then they thought they discussed it with you. You responded to it, but they're still not convinced. So it remains an unspoken objection. They're not convinced of your response. You didn't properly address it. So it's still lingering in the back of their minds. So then, and in that scenario as well, they're going to start looking for other reasons, right? Other reasons, okay, I can't go back to that because, he or she already addressed it. So let me look for other reasons why this candidate's not a good fit. So they want to, start poking holes and looking for other reasons why. Or this is a scenario where you face that whole thing where they're not getting back to you. They're not returning your phone calls. They don't get back to you. They suddenly ghost you or anything like that. Absolutely no excuse whatsoever to do that. That being said, it doesn't mean that they're like they're evil or mean or anything like that. It's just a I think even a fact of human behavior. Well, I don't know about human. I wouldn't say human behavior, but I'd say in most cases, and being a recruiter and speaking to as many people as I do. One thing that I feel that majority of people have trouble with is people don't like confrontation. People don't like confronting the core issue. People don't like confronting or asking the difficult questions. And that's pretty much the only reason why most hiring managers or recruiters just decide not to respond at all. They just avoid confrontation sometimes, which is not right. So that's where the staffing agency or the recruiter comes in and has to be able to ask those tough questions, get that feedback, and really dig deep and probe and try to find out what's really going on. Now, if you're not working with a staffing agency or a recruiter, you got to do this yourself. Okay, so you got to work that courage muscle and dig into it, and that's why I write these articles, because I'm not always going to be able to help you with whichever roles you're applying for if you're in IT here in Toronto. So that's why I do these articles, these posts and everything, so that you can, do this stuff on your own as well if I'm not helping you. Because if I'm helping you, Dean throws a good punch, right? But in the case that you're not working with me, you need to be able to do this on your own. And as usual, I kind of went on a tangent there, but so that was so remember, so those are the two scenarios that involve an unspoken or hidden objection. Number one, it remains an unspoken objection. They don't want to bring it up, so it remains unspoken, and they start looking for other reasons why they want to pass you on or move on to another profile, etc., etc. Reason number two, why it remains an unspoken unspoken or hidden objection. They brought it up, you attempted to address it, but they weren't convinced. So going back to the scenario of let's say of a contractor, right, who's been working as a contractor for the past 10-15 years. Not saying that this scenario, like this guy's a contractor, not saying that this is a completely different example I'm using. So let's say that you're a contractor and you've been in contracting for like a whole bunch of years, and suddenly now you decided to go full time. Again, same scenario as what I did for scenario one, right? And they brought it up. So let's say I'm the interviewer, right? You're the contractor. So I'm like, you know what? I like your profile. I like your skill set. I mean, it's a great match for what we're looking for in a candidate for this role. My only concern is you've been contracting for the past 10 to 15 years, and we are looking to hire someone full time permanent. We want someone who's going to stay on for the long term. And what's your take on that? Like, what's your motivation for moving from contract to full time? So your response to this will determine whether this objection gets addressed or whether it stays, hidden and at the back of the other person's mind. So what would your response be? So your response might be, I don't know, you might say, well, yeah, no, I totally understand, but I've just been doing contracting for so long. I just want something stable. I want stability. I can't do it anymore. I don't know, whatever reason, some kind of a reason that might not be as convincing. So the interviewer, upon hearing that, might say, oh, okay, great, all right, that makes sense, and they might move on to the next question. Now, maybe they might be convinced. I don't know. Maybe you're able to convince them based on that answer. But if they're not, now because you already addressed it, they don't want to bring it up again, because then they might feel like they're gonna sound like an idiot, right? Because you already attempted to address it, so they don't want to address it again. So the objection remains because you haven't addressed it. They're not convinced. So they keep the interview moving on, but they're gonna now they might be looking for other reasons to turn you down or reject you. So that's an example of when it is brought to the surface, but it's not addressed properly. So you need to make sure you address these objections properly. Now, in the case of the contractor going to full-time thing, what would be a good reason? Well, one of the best reasons I ever heard was when I was recruiting a guy, and he'd been contracting for most of his career since he got out of school. And he said, "Look, I recently had my first baby, and I just need something more. I need something stable for my family. I don't want to be moving from contract to contract, and that's my reason why." Now, that doesn't mean that all of you who are going from contracting to full-time don't use that very same reason, right? Like, that's not my point here. My point is that would be an example of maybe perhaps a very strong reason going from contract to full-time that the interviewer might consider. Okay, yeah, that's definitely reasonable why he or she's going from contract to full-time. So, but you get my point. My point here is not the example of the response. My point is the scenario, right? And the reasoning behind why the unspoken objection remains unspoken or hidden or whatever the case. So that's what you got to do. You gotta make sure that there's not some hidden objection or unspoken objection, and you need to bring it to the surface. So I wrote an article about that, how to address those hidden or unspoken objections. I give a specific example in the article, but you can adapt it to whatever your situation or scenario might be. And by the way, before this is something I always advocate for, is before going into the interview you should know all of these potential hidden objections or weaknesses that might be in existence at your end, right? Could be that you're going from contract to full time, could be something else. Maybe you live in Milton and you're applying for a job in downtown Toronto. That could be very well be a hidden objection or an unspoken objection that even if you address it, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, but this person is going to be traveling all the way from Milton to downtown Toronto. That's kind of a long commute. That's a possible unspoken or hidden objection, right? They might have you address that once, but if they're not convinced with your response, it's gonna linger in the back of their minds. And I lost my trail of thought, but pretty much that's my point. I mean, so keep in mind the hidden objection, something very, very important. Yeah, I remembered. Yeah, so what I was saying is that make sure that you keep track of all these potential hidden objections and things that might or might not be brought up. All of your weaknesses, all of the things that someone else speaking to you might say, okay, these are reasons to not move forward with you. You need to have those prepared. You need to have responses prepared to those. And in some cases, and not all of you agree with this, okay? And maybe this might be some advanced level stuff. But what I personally do as a job seeker, like I just bring up the objection myself before they do, because at least then I'm in control and I can address it. Now this is done later on in the process, like close to the end of the interview, when I have signs of interest, indications of interest from the employer. I know that they're interested in me. I know that, not that they're 100% interested, but I'm seeing indications that that they have an interest in me, that they're considering me, and that's a judgment that I have to make as a job seeker, right, when I'm at the interview. And the reason why I say it's advanced level stuff is you might have to you have to have that ability to kind of judge and assess the situation and see if it's okay for you to bring up the objection yourself, rather than bringing up the objection and them thinking, oh, we didn't know about that. Now maybe we should think about that again. So it depends on the objection, the potential objection or the weakness or whatever. So a scenario where it might not matter and I could bring up the objection myself might be, let's say I live all the way in I don't know, somewhere far, right? And then the job is in downtown Toronto or whatever the case. So after at the end of the interview, I'm close to the end of the interview, I'm seeing indications that they're very interested in me. I might bring it up myself. I might say, look, I just want to let you know I'm currently living in city XYZ, which is a long distance from downtown Toronto, but I'm very open. I'm very much looking to move to the downtown Toronto area or the GTA, and that's not an issue. But I just want to let you know up front that as of right now, I'm living in XYZ or whatever. So that's just a simple example of that, right? So that's just something for you to consider. All right. Now, again, know what your potential weaknesses are. Be ready to explain them if you're asked about them. If you feel and if you get the sense that they are interested in you and there's a potential objection that might be obvious but they haven't brought up themselves, think about whether you want to bring it up yourself as well, just so that you can at least address it and not have to go through leaving the interview, going home and having them have their own perceptions about the whatever objection it was that wasn't brought up, that they didn't bring up, that you didn't bring up, and they end up looking for some other reason to pass you by. So you got to make that judgment. Use that strategy at your own discretion. You do have to have a good assessment of the situation. Okay, so I'm although I do encourage you to use it, I'm also warning you. Practice good judgment, and you have to assess the situation before you actually do that. If you need any help with that, if you need any tips or advice on that, feel free to ask me. So that's my video. I'm almost at 20 minutes. All right. So thank you so much for those of you who didn't fall off, that you've been watching the video for the entire length. Really appreciate it. So hopefully that answers that scenario, right? So keep in mind, hidden objections, unspoken objections, they are real. They do occur at the interview. They could possibly be holding you back. So make sure you know how to deal with them. I'm gonna put a link to the article below if you've never read it before, if you haven't checked it out. Make sure you read it. Make sure you check it out. If you have any questions, let me know. And if there's any particular topics you want me to cover, don't hesitate in letting me know. Look, we're at the end of the week, but that doesn't mean you slow down. I want you to go full speed. Put in your best. Put in your 200%. Don't give up. Keep pushing forward. Keep moving forward. And remember, keep your pipeline full. If you're only applying to like a handful of roles or reaching out to a handful of recruiters or whoever it is you're contacting, it's a numbers game to a certain extent. So keep those applications going. Keep connecting with the right people who can help you. Keep yourself on their minds, and keep pushing forward. Okay, stay positive. Stay away from negative people. And if there's any way I can help you, let me know. Again, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dean Kulawira. I'm an IT recruiter at SRA Staffing. We're based in the Yonge and Sheppard area. Again, if you're an IT professional in Toronto, I'd love to meet with you or get on a call with you. If you want to introduce yourself, you want to tell me about your background, the types of projects you've done, don't hesitate in giving me a shout. My phone number, Monday to Friday, 416-296-1772, extension 2036. And that's about it. I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to let all of you go. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you got value out of this. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.